We have special guest Mira from Ananda LA who will lead some journaling at some point. We talked about breaking it up, and we'll do kind of like 3 parts. I'll start and just talk a little bit about the 7 last words of Jesus, which is more on the Good Friday side of things. And it's basically the 7 sayings of Jesus is his last words that are written in the Bible when he was on the cross. I've always been interested to do something on that because growing up at our church, many times what they had was they had like people or pastors come in from different churches. Like it might have been like, it was all kind of Christian, but maybe like Episcopal and Lutheran or Catholic, whatever. And they all kind of took one of the sayings and kind of spoke on the sayings. And I always kind of my dread for church that I had as a kid, that was one of the things that I actually thought was interesting, because it was different probably. But it always kind of stuck in my mind. That was kind of just a neat way to approach it. They even had like sometimes a lay person speak on one of them, so it's just kind of different takes on the 7 last words. The 7 last words from the cross, otherwise known as the sayings of Jesus on the cross, are 7 expressions biblically attributed to Jesus during his crucifixion. Traditionally, these brief sayings have simply been called the words. They are gathered in 4 of the canonical Gospels. 3 of the sayings appear in the Gospels of Luke, and 3 appear in John. The other sayings appear in both the Gospels of Mark and Matthew. In Mark and Matthew, Jesus cries out to God. In Luke, he forgives his killers, reassures the thief, and commends the spirit of the Father. In John, he speaks to his mother, says he thirsts, and declares the end of his earthly life. The 7 sayings of Jesus are part of a Christian meditation that is often used during Lent, the Holy Week, and Good Friday. The traditional order of the sayings are: the first one in Luke, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In Luke, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. In John, woman, behold your son, behold your mother. In Matthew and Mark, my God, why have you forsaken me? In John, I thirst. In John, it is finished. Or also from the Greek translation, it is accomplished. In Luke, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Traditionally, these 7 sayings are called the words of forgiveness, salvation, relationship, abandonment, distress, triumph, and reunion. Excuse me. I'm just going to talk on the first 2. To do all 7 would be fairly voluminous and it would take up the whole time. So.
What are all 7 again? Can you repeat them?
Sure. The first one is, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. In Luke, it's truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean all of those, but where you said like the sequence of triumph and triumph.
Traditionally the 7 sayings is called the words forgiveness, salvation, relationship, abandonment, distress, triumph, and reunion.
Thank you.
So the first one is probably the most popular one. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And in my mind, and my take on it is that, Jesus gave us an example of extreme forgiveness. We have these little things that happen throughout our lives where these, our friend doesn't call us back, or or maybe it's bigger. Maybe there's a betrayal in a relationship, or sometimes there's an extreme one where someone murders another person. And I think Jesus gives us an example of what I call like extreme forgiveness. Like, he's forgiving his killers, basically. And we see examples of this. I've read about a woman who forgave a man in prison who murdered her sister and her whole family. In my mind, that's like, whoa, that's extreme forgiveness. Asha talks about someone who goes to prison and forgives someone who killed their son or daughter in a drunk driving accident. And I think that Jesus gives this example of extreme forgiveness because it's what we're supposed to do, not only for ourselves and for the other person. It's just it's part of our spiritual evolution to have that kind of consciousness, and maybe it doesn't come so natural for us now, and maybe we have to develop it, but I think when you're in that state of consciousness, it's a natural thing to do, because you're able to separate out the soul or the higher self from the egoic self's actions, to have that kind of awareness of their higher self, and knowing that what they're doing is not really ultimately them or their soul. Yogananda wrote, "The God of some scriptures is a revengeful deity, always ready to punish us. But Jesus showed us the real nature of God. He did not destroy his enemies with the 12 legions of angels, but rather overcame evil with the power of divine love. His actions demonstrated the supreme love of God and the behavior of those who are one with him." In the Mahabharata, it says, "One should forgive under any injury. It hath been said that the continuation of species is due to man's being forgiving." That's a pretty big statement. "Forgiveness is holiness. By forgiveness, the universe is held together. Forgiveness is the might of the mighty. Forgiveness is sacrifice. Forgiveness is quiet of mind. Forgiveness and gentleness are the qualities of the self-possessed. They represent eternal virtue." And from the Bible, "Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how oft my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. I prayed deeply to understand this uncompromising counsel. Lord, I protested, is it possible? When the divine voice finally responded, it brought a humbling flood of light. How many times, O man, do I forgive each day of you daily? Think about that. I think of that in even just, subtler ways. I mean, how many times in a day are my thoughts not totally aligned with the divine? Or even if you're having just a wrong thought, you're just putting that vibration out there. And God is never, coming at us with 12 legions of angels, crucifying us. And, he's a forgiving God. He's an understanding God. Paramahansa Yogananda writes, as God is constantly forgiving us, even knowing all our wrong thoughts, so those who are fully in tune with him naturally have that same love. If you would develop Christ consciousness, learn to be sympathetic. When genuine feeling for others comes into your heart, you are beginning to manifest that great consciousness. Lord Krishna said, he is a supreme yogi who regards with equal-mindedness all men. Yogananda goes on to say, go on doing good no matter how much you get slapped by others. There are thousands who will appreciate your efforts and a few who never will. When they crucify you with unkindness, that is the time to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Continue to do good to please God, including efforts at resolving the misunderstanding. Don't be a doormat or cooperate with evil, but in your heart separate them, meaning their souls from their misguided actions, and give them love sincerely. Thereby you will attain self-mastery, a peace within yourself that cannot be destroyed by the actions of others. Yogananda has an affirmation that we can say on forgiveness. I'll read it through once and then we can repeat it. The affirmation is, today I forgive all those who have ever offended me. I give my love to all thirsty hearts, both those who love me and those who do not love me. One of the criminals who hung there with Jesus hurled insults at him. He said, "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other criminal rebuked him. "Don't you fear God," he said, "since you are under the same sentence. We are punished justly, for we are getting what our deeds deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus answered him, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." So I guess it was kind of like a conversation they had. Paramahansa Yogananda wrote, when you reflect that this world is filled with death and that your body too has to be relinquished, God's plans seem very cruel. You can't imagine that He is merciful. But when you look at the process of death with the eye of wisdom, you see that after all it is merely the thought of God passing through the nightmare of change into the blissful freedom into Him again. Saints and sinners alike are given freedom at death, to a greater or lesser degree, according to their merit. In the Lord's dream astral world, the land which all souls go at death, they enjoy a freedom such as they never knew during their earthly life. So it seems like, no matter how you live your life, you're still going to experience some kind of freedom afterwards. He goes on to say, so don't pity the person who is passing through the delusion of death, for in a little while he will be free. Once he gets out of that delusion, he sees that death was not so bad after all. He realizes his mortality was only a dream and rejoices that now no fire can burn him, no water can drown him. He is free and safe. On March 6, in 1952, Paramahansa Yogananda told his disciples laughingly, "I have a big day tomorrow. Wish me luck." This is the day before he passed away. The next day, he attended a banquet at Los Angeles Biltmore Hotel for a new Indian ambassador. He did not gaze about with his usual light-hearted, warm smile. After eating modestly, the Guru rose to make a speech about spiritual India. He spoke more slowly and with more cadence than usual. As he finished, Yogananda lifted his eyes, turned slightly to the right, then slid to the floor. Officials who conducted the embalming of the body reported an unusual phenomenon. There was no physical disintegration, even after 20 days of his death. Yogananda's body was apparently devoid of any impurities. They reported this case as being unique in their experience. I thought that we would maybe just take a few minutes and maybe just pray for the recent souls that have transitioned from Ananda to God's paradise, Rochelle and Brindy and Tushti, and knowing that, they are in freedom, and just maybe send them our love and energy and their newfound freedom and their new home. So we'll just take a few minutes to meditate. this meditative state, listen to the words of Yogananda. Souls in the astral region are clothed in gossamer light. They do not encase themselves in bundles of bones or fleshly covers. They carry no frail, heavy frames that collide with other crude solids and break. Therefore there is no war in the astral land between man's body and solids, oceans, lightning, and disease. Nor are there any accidents, for all things coexist in mutual helpfulness rather than antagonism. All forms of vibration function in harmony with one another. All forces live in peace, in conscious helpfulness. The souls, the rays on which they tread, and the orange rays they drink and eat are all made of living light. Souls live in mutual cognizance and cooperation, breathing not oxygen, but the joy of spirit. Yogananda also said, at death, you forget all the limitations of the physical body and you realize how free you are. For the first few seconds, there's a sense of fear of the unknown, of something unfamiliar to the consciousness. But after that comes a great realization. The soul feels a joyous sense of relief and freedom. You know that you exist apart from the mortal body. Guru Nanak, the great Sikh saint who wrote O God Beautiful, said, death is nothing but a gateway to birth. Nothing that lives ever dies, it only changes form. When a man's body is weary, the soul leaves the body to receive a newer, fresher garment. And so on goes the great play of God, from eternity to eternity.
Thank you for that, Scott and Colleen. This is so fun to be with you guys. Well, and so it is my turn now. Or my journaling talk now, right? Okay. Just making sure.
Yep.
So, I think I got the chance to meet everyone except, hello, I'm Mira.
Hi, I'm Jessica.
Hi, Jessica. Nice to meet you. I'm from Ananda, LA. So,
Welcome.
thank you.
She knows you're coming 'cause she updates our website.
Oh,
for us. So she
cool.
many things.
Yes. Cool. So I'm just gonna lead us through a journaling discussion and prompt today. I run a therapeutic journaling and meditation workshop or program, and I go around teaching workshops just on journaling and meditation. So teaching journaling as a therapeutic technique, and it's actually amazing how powerful journaling can be for people. I'll just give you a little background of my program just as an example of how powerful journaling is, because even I was surprised when I gave my first workshop at just how it was received. I didn't think that it would go as deep as it did. So I used to be a counselor for sex trafficking survivors, and what I would do is match them up with my clients with a therapist and ask them how their therapy is going. And although the talk therapy was helpful in its own way, my clients were always asking for, or I found many of them would ask for alternative therapy because they found that it was a little difficult for them to disclose their trauma, but also trauma is stored in the brain in fragmented bits and pieces. So as you can imagine, that would be difficult to let someone know or let your therapist know this one full memory that you're trying to work on. So I developed a workshop. Being a writer myself, I was a journalist before a counselor, and I knew how much structured writing had always helped me. At the time, I was teaching like at high schools, different journalism classes, and my favorite thing about writing was always structure. I felt like it was a really wonderful way to organize the mind. But even more so, what inspired the program was that as a small child, well, I'd always journaled ever since I could write. When I was like 4 years old or something, I still remember the little blue diary my mom got me when I was a really little kid. But even as a child, I felt when I would write about things, my little 5-year-old life, I could feel this really deep, profound thing happening within me. And at the time, of course, I didn't really know what it was, except to know that it was really powerful. And as I got older, and especially after coming onto the path, I realized that what I was feeling as a small child was my consciousness rising. So it's very similar to when we meditate. We're trying to bring our consciousness to the spiritual eye. We're trying to uplift our consciousness or uplift that energy, even like with our kriyas, if we practice or if we've been initiated into kriya. And so I wanted to share that with my clients. So I taught one workshop, just kind of trying to help them string their memories together. And it was absolutely incredible what happened just even in one workshop. So workshops are a couple hours. You see people come in who a couple of the clients had been it was actually the client in New York when I was coming out here for a mission for that. I saw people who just the day before, or a couple days before actually, they were actually under pimp control, like they had recently been rescued. And well, that was actually the first time I met with them, was a couple days after they were rescued, and they were just completely expressionless. I mean, if you've ever known anybody who's experienced severe trauma, or maybe even yourself, something happens where you just feel completely disconnected from yourself, even from your ego, if you can imagine that. So, but most certainly your soul self. And but what the journaling did is within just even a couple hours, and the workshop was about a week after one or two clients had been rescued. After just a week and doing this journaling workshop, after those couple hours had passed, their faces were just lighting up with complete joy, and you could see the light in their eyes and smiles on their faces, and of course tears were shed throughout the process. And so you could see that this real purification was taking place, and this real transformation. And of course that was just the tip of the iceberg. And another really beautiful thing about it was, especially it being a trauma setting, was that the response I got from the survivors, one in particularly said it just so perfectly, that she said she felt powerful. So we can look at that as devotees, as she was feeling one of the divine qualities of power or energy. She felt God flowing through her. And as a trauma counselor, I could look at that like, wow, she feels empowered, which in the trauma counseling world, that's what you try to do. Your number one goal is to try to help your clients feel empowerment. And so anyway, that was how all of this started several years ago, and I just wanted to share that just because that's just about the most, when you talk about power, it's the most powerful thing I could think of for writing to transform, someone's consciousness, or to take them from a completely expressionless person, not even in touch with their soul at all, and to light up with just in a few hours of writing. So, but anyway, how I'd like to not just keep talking and have you guys talk too. So, do any of you guys have a journaling practice? Whether it's consistent or every once in a while. You do? That's great. Do you?
I didn't even hear you.
Oh, do you, do you have a journaling practice?
No.
No, okay. No. All right.
Mine's off and on.
Off and on.
I used to, and it's been a while.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, hopefully, like Colleen said in the beginning, this will revive some stuff. So, I wanted to start with a quote by Swamiji. This is, or actually something I wanted to do. Do you have, oh gosh, the affirmation book? Do you have that handy? Great. There's a wonderful, thank you, a wonderful affirmation we could all do together on introspection. So, which is of course what journaling is. So, sorry, I meant to do this before and completely forgot. Introspection.
Yeah, that book has like no rhyme or reason, I think. Yeah, it's like not alphabetical.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
It's just kinda,
Alright.
but that's why I just open it. I'm like, whatever is supposed to.
Yeah, I thought it said 64, but there is no page 64. Short inspection. Oh, wait, 64.
I think they're numbered though, the actual
Oh,
affirmations have
I
a
was-
number.
Yeah, I was looking at the number of the affirmation. So 64, affirmation 23. There we go. All right, 64. Okay. So, am I speaking loud enough? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. So you can repeat after me the first time with really intense will and loudly, and we'll get quieter and take it more inwardly. So, I am what I am.
I am what I am.
Wishing cannot change me.
Wishing cannot change me.
Let me therefore face my faults with gratitude,
Let me therefore face my faults with gratitude.
for only by facing them
For only by facing them
can I work on them and change them.
can I work on them and change them.
I am what I am.
I am what I am.
Wishing cannot change me.
Wishing cannot change me.
Let me therefore face my faults with gratitude,
Let me therefore face my faults with gratitude.
for only by facing them
For
Only by facing them
can I work on them and change them.
can I work on them and change them.
Now taking it more inward in a whisper, I am what I am. Wishing cannot change me. Let me therefore face my faults with gratitude, for only by facing them can I work on them and change them. Now silently affirming with me, I am what I am. I am what I am. Wishing cannot change me. Let me therefore face my faults with gratitude, for only by facing them can I work on them and change them. And now you could pray silently with me. Let me not delude myself with desires, Lord. Teach me to see behind the play of thoughts thy ever calm gaze of wisdom. Peace. So I like that affirmation for, really looking at, like wishing cannot change anything. And I like to look at wishing as our thoughts. So if we just think, that's not very concrete. That won't change stuff. We have to meditate, pray, and practice introspection. And so there's this great quote by Swami in Promise of Immortality. He says, oh, and I wanted to tie the journaling today to resurrection. So he says, resurrection is any beneficial change in our lives. So super simple. But resurrection is any beneficial change in our lives. And that's essentially what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing with introspection, trying to make changes in our lives. Because we know that our goal, the goal being God, is to constantly move towards Him. And to do that, we're in constant flux. So even though we might wish for, to coast through life for a little bit, for things to get easy, when that's happening, we're probably not growing. And so we want to make sure that as long as we have the goal as God, that we're making those incremental changes and those incremental changes in the bigger picture of life, or in the longer rhythms. So, and I wanted to follow that up with a quote by Yukteswar. He says, this is so powerful, just as everything he says is. I could just hear him saying this. So, forget the past. The vanished lives of all men are dark with many scenes. Human conduct is ever unreliable until it is anchored in the divine. Everything in the future will improve if you're making a spiritual effort now. So, super powerful. But there's a few things I really like about this quote. Forgetting the past, yes. But a quote by Yogananda is that we need to learn to analyze ourselves dispassionately. So be able to apply discernment to looking at ourselves inwardly, to practicing introspection. And so to do that, we do need to look at our dark past, or as he says, our vanished lives with many dark scenes. So it's okay to do that, because I have some people in my workshops, especially when I teach at more spiritual places, I'll say, well, wait, aren't we supposed to just let go of the past? And yes, we are, but we have to understand the past, or if we're gonna, the way we need to look at the past is to really let it go. A lot of times we'll not look at the past, but just by not looking at it doesn't mean that we haven't let it go. So we want to really let go of that dark, troubled past, and to do that, we can write about it. So we could start with a prompt that I have for you guys. Does anybody have something to write with? Paper? Because I have paper for you. Okay. I'll pass out paper. Okay. And so I'm guessing most people need it. Okay, thank you so much.
Right.
So as I pass out the paper and we get the pens going around, I wanted to share something about.
Okay.
Thank you.
You guys might want two pieces, because if we have time, we're going to probably do 2 writing assignments. Or assignments, like 2 writing assignments. Okay. Do you guys have this? Okay.
He's going.
Everybody else? Okay. I suggest
It's
2
two
pieces just
pieces.
in case.
2?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What about Jessica? Does Jessica?
Oh yeah, just I'll give her the second piece too.
She needs a second one.
Cool. I'll make sure to mention to them later, this is just a fun fact though, as we all get ready to do our prompt. I wanted to share the effect that writing has on the brain, so why it's so powerful, just on a physical level. The part of the brain that that writing activates, and it's, by the way, it's a physical act of writing, so writing it out with your hand and not typing, although I guess that's physical too, but writing something out, it stimulates the amygdala in our brain, which the amygdala is the part of the brain that controls decision making, memory processing, and our motivated behavior. So motivated behavior are emotions. So when we're writing, that means we're strengthening that part of the brain. So that means we're actually strengthening our ability to control our emotions and reactions, and control our memory processing and decision making. So I just think that's
You need a pen?
reason enough to write right there. All right. So does everybody have something to write with and something hard to write on too? Would you like, great. So before we write, we're going to just meditate for just a couple of minutes. We've already done a lot of meditation tonight, which there's nothing wrong with meditation, but we just want to sit for a couple minutes before we meditate, and I suggest always doing this before you write, because it's nice to go into writing with just more centered, and with a directional focus. So you could take your couple minutes to think about, as I said, the goal is God. So we'll take a couple moments in a minute to center ourselves. But first I'll tell you the prompt, because we'll go right from the meditation into the prompt. So I have a few here, but let me see which would be good for right now. We just spoke, Colleen just spoke so much about forgiveness that we will we'll do a forgiveness prompt. So, and that's part of resurrection, because when you're forgiving someone or yourself, you're letting go, of course, and when you let go, you're making room for something else. So you're making room for those beneficial changes, as Swami said, to happen. So one thing I really suggest to you, though, I know we already all have our person that we'd like to forgive because of the meditation with Colleen, but I also suggest to forgive yourselves. So whether that's in this exercise or later on when you hopefully practice on your own after this, but really kind of look inward, and as Yogananda says, learn to dispassionately analyze yourself and analyze your thoughts and actions. And we tend to be very hard on ourselves for many different things, but that's one thing that you can forgive yourself for, is being hard on yourself, and look at the things that you're hard on yourself for. So we'll do just a brief meditation and then go right into the writing. And what you'll forgive is either another person or yourself. And you can write in whatever way you want. I suggest stream of consciousness, which just means writing quickly. So, so we'll sit in, we'll get ready for meditation. So spine straight, shoulders back and down. Imagine that there's a string pulling from your heart. So your heart is open, chest is up. And just focus on your breath. Feel the cool air come in through your nostrils and the warm air as it goes out. And as you practice your deep breathing, feel your stomach get larger like a balloon on the inhale. And feel it deflate like a balloon on the exhale. And as we try to get centered here, just any thought that comes into your mind, be sure to just gently release that with your breath or by bringing your attention back to the point between your eyebrows. So we'll sit for just a few moments in silence. Keeping your attention inward. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and begin to write. As you finish up, you can just go back into meditation. You'd take a minute or two more to finish up your thoughts if you're still writing. But if you're going back into your meditation right now, just try to relax and feel. So notice how you feel right now. Notice where you feel, which chakras you might feel more than others. It's common for people to feel some sort of agitation after writing. Our emotions are often agitated. Then it's also common to feel like we really got something off of our chest. So if we are feeling more of that free feeling, just allow that freedom to permeate throughout you. And if you're feeling that agitation, just notice where you're feeling it. Like Yogananda's teachings say, relax and feel. Feel where you feel it, feel what it feels like. And then as you focus on your breath, release the feeling with the breath. So hold that feeling at the seat of super consciousness at the point between the eyebrows. And on an inhale, breathe it in, and then exhale and release. So for example, if I was feeling sadness, I might feel that low sensation in my stomach, the bottom of my stomach, in the third chakra. And I'll bring that sadness up to the point between the eyebrows. And as I inhale, try to inhale whatever sadness or whatever feeling you're feeling is, even if it's happiness, you want to release so you can maintain that equanimity, that balance. So hold it on the inhale, or bring it in on the inhale, hold it, and as you exhale, release. And you could exhale through your mouth, so you really feel that sense of release. We could do a couple breaths like that on our own. And now as your thoughts come, just release them by bringing your attention to the point between the eyebrows or to the breath. Or by practicing any meditation technique you might know, like Hum Sa. On the inhale, you inhale Hum, I am, and on the exhale, Sa, Spirit. So Inhale, I am. Exhale, spirit. I am spirit. Peace. Amen. So I wanted to leave you guys with just one last thought, but before I do, would anyone like to share what the experience was like for them writing right now? You don't have to share what you wrote, but how was the meditation with the writing, or did you feel a sense of release with the forgiveness writing?
I feel like I had to work through, like, after I did everything, and then when I just felt before I meditated, I felt like this big tension all throughout me, like all around here. And I'm like, uh-oh, I hope it goes away. And then I kept doing the breathing, and eventually it started dissipating. So
That's great.
I noticed for me that just chakras that I know I have issues with were the ones that were affected at the voice. Very specific. And it felt releasing it.
Oh, good, good. Did it leave anyone, including you, feeling like maybe worried if you felt something in that chakra, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Am I going to walk out of here still feeling that feeling? And it's okay if that happened. So the reason I ask is because sometimes that does happen, like writing, as I said, will agitate stuff, and that's okay because especially if you develop a regular practice of whatever type of introspection it may be, whether it's meditating or journaling, as long as you maintain a consistent practice of introspection, that feeling will improve over time. It'll have its highs and lows, of course, but it'll be on a path to improvement. So if you ever feel worse after writing than you did when you started, it's okay. So especially if you're inviting God into your heart and just having Master be with you as you write. So.
Well, I had the opposite. I felt it helped my meditation.
Oh.
You know, I was able to hit it very nicely.
Wonderful. I did that. Thanks.
I felt like I had more to say than I thought I did.
Yeah.
I could have kept going. I was like, time?
It's over.
Like, wow, I had a lot to say.
Isn't that amazing? The forgiving, I don't know which one you did with the forgiving myself one, is the one where I'm like, oh my God, I can like write a whole journal full of this stuff. So if I ever want to keep that consistent practice, I'm like, what did I write about today? Oh, forgive myself. There's always something there. So
Just in general, I think when I put it off and I don't do it for a while,
Yeah.
I do find like once I just start, like put pen to paper, then I just can go. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, it is really, it is good. I don't know, I can't put it into words because I haven't like delved into journaling like you have, or even what you have written about it beyond just, it does feel better because it feels like you have these things that are just kind of, it's always kind of here, just vibrating until you can get it out on paper, and it's better to get it out there than
exactly. Thank you.
sometimes.
Right. But yeah, I love what you said about the vibrating, because it really is this tension that is within us. I mean, what we're holding on to, whether we realize it or not, some people are uncomfortable with the word trauma, but as a trauma counselor, I'll just say we've all experienced trauma, you know, whether it's like little daily traumas or big traumas. We all know that we have, and that's the sort of stuff that gets stuck, you know, even if it's a relationship with someone that we had trouble kind of just dealing with and confronting. Oftentimes those are the big things that get stuck in us, and that's us, you know, just collecting that stuck energy that ends up vibrating, and those are the virtues within us. Oh, I'm funny. I needed someone to help me here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just, I think, for me, is just relational with other people. Because, you know, who really gets mad at a sunset? Or, like, it's like everything has to do, like, with all these interactions with other people. And, you know, sometimes, you know, at work, you're dealing with a client, and, like, maybe it didn't go as well as I thought. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's just good to kind of just write it out. And then you're like, oh, you know, next time I could probably do this, you know. And it's, for me, putting pen to paper, it's, it is that there's something about the introspection of just writing it out and just kind of thinking about it in your head. Oh yeah, next time. But when you actually write about it, makes it a little more clear. Or something energetically, it shifts it a little more for me anyway.
Definitely. And what you said about the bringing other people into it, I mean, it absolutely does improve our social relationships, because when you bring people into writing, and there's a writing psychologist who says, he's even written a book called The Secret Life of Pronouns. He says to bring pronouns into your writing, because if you're saying he, she, it, I, or names of people, you're bringing that into your writing, and you're therefore understanding on a deeper level your relationship with these people and how you view these people, and just really kind of diving into it, opposed to, and the reason why that book is important, and it's important to bring the pronouns into our writing, is because sometimes we could get so introspective with it that it's just I, me, my, you know, like me and my thoughts, and here's what I think about things, here's what I worry about. But really, back to the analyzing dispassionately, bring other people into your writing. You know, just so like Colleen said, you don't end up projecting stuff out on people too. That's a good thing. So I just wanted to say one more quick thing, because by the way, this is like a weekend workshop that I usually do. I could talk about this for a very long time, so I'll try not to, and I'll just say one more quick thing. So like we've already talked about, obviously we want to practice introspection for spiritual growth. So and introspection literally means to look into. And so we need to think, well, how can we look into ourselves then? We know we can do that with meditation, but as far as the analyzing ourselves and our thoughts, as Yogananda says to do, we could do that, of course, through writing. And some ways to do that, some ways to practice that sort of writing is in stream of consciousness. So like we just did, where you write really quickly. The idea is to not interrupt your thoughts. So people will ask me computer versus writing stuff out by hand. Do whatever allows you to not interrupt your thoughts the most. And something really cool about stream of consciousness is, well, the reason why we even write in stream of consciousness is we want those aha moments, or that insight, you know, or inspiration. And I like to look at the inspiration as God speaking through us or to us. And if we think about inspiration, that is literally what it is anyway, because inspiration means to breathe into. So if we're releasing, and we're making all this room for the breath of God to breathe through us and to really bring that inspiration through our writing. And it's just a really, really beautiful thing when that happens, because you can feel it. It truly is communion with God, or communication with Master. Very beautiful. So thank you all.
I alternatively too, like I've always found helpful, like writing like affirmations over and over. Like it just as another way of repeating it, like I've done that before. Or even like at some point I've actually written out all Swami's affirmations on a just one sheet,
That's nice.
just so I had access to it. And even just doing that was like really different in that like I connected with the affirmations in a different way, just like typing them all, like, so there's lots of fun things you can do with writing.
Oh yes, there are infinite fun things you can do with writing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Yeah. Happy Easter.
So, yeah, by the way, you don't always have to write about heavy stuff either. You can just write about your fun day or, because that's all part of the processing too, and really kind of paying attention to those longer rhythms and just understanding life and your own growth process. So.
I always wondered why people kept a diary. I see that, hear about that, and I say, oh, you want to do something like that? It's like, take so much time, why are you doing that?
Right.
Yeah. Well, now we have a glimpse into why, and also a lot of really either successful or creative people. Most of those people, I'm sure, including many people in this room, have written their stuff out or kept a diary, and it helps you be more intentional or purposeful because you're just more clear with what you want, where you're going. Oh, there was this, I don't know where, I didn't write down the quote, but the quote by Master is like, write down your thoughts every night, something like this. Write down your thoughts every night before you go to sleep so you can see who you are and where you're going. And again, some people ask me sometimes like, well, why would I, write about my thoughts? Like that's me getting into my ego. Yes, but we need to understand our thoughts and where they're coming from. And then as far as the where we're going, let that be your feeling or your intuition. So like the thoughts and all that ego stuff, yeah, think about those and then write them down. But as far as the where you're going, really feel that, and that's where you could bring the meditation in and feel where is it that I'm going or where is it that I want to go. And that's how you could bring intention into your writing, purpose into your writing, and really make it a very spiritual process.
Yeah.
I find it very helpful just to, at the end of the day or next morning when you wake up, just write down things that I feel so blessed throughout the day. And then, it's where things happen during the day, like you shared, just I like to use it as an opportunity, sort of look at the whole whatever event, sort of like pull the feeling, the string, and just look at it like impersonally, which means only look at what happened and what behaviors are involved, and just be grateful for the lesson, and just really ask myself, okay, so this happened, so what's the lesson in it for me, and how can I make a better choice the next time when something similar happens.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. And one thing that what you just shared reminded me of, and if we had like a weekend workshop or something, I would definitely share this with you guys and we'd practice it. But maybe you could do this on your own. But I find that something really powerful is question and answer writing. That's a technique. In my workshops, we go over like this big list of techniques that we could apply to our writing. But question and answer writing is one of them. So you ask yourself like, what am I, or what is the lesson here, or ask yourself anything. I meant to do it actually for this, where we ask ourselves, who do I forgive, and then just let that be a question and answer writing activity. The point with that is you'll be surprised what comes up in stream of consciousness. So it just has a different effect on the brain opposed to if you just went into it saying, I'm going to write about forgiveness, and then you just write about who you forgive. But asking yourself, really putting inquiry to your writing, it brings, it just, I don't know, shows a whole different light. So
It's funny you say that because when you instruct everybody to, when you pose it like who you forgive, before you said that, I sort of was just thinking about it, like I wonder, and then when you said that, it just sort of just like all these people that I didn't even think of popped in my head. Like, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah.
I guess it bothered me.
I like to think it more from like instead of forgiving, more like from an understanding angle of it, because I just feel, I mean, it's just like a recent kind of thought that happens, because I mean, we all make mistakes, and and we are all learning, and I find it more helpful coming from like, willing to be more open and understand place, rather than, oh, this person is in the wrong, I forgive this person, or I was in the wrong, I forgive myself.
Right. Like really bringing compassion into the writing, and before you also mentioned gratitude. Gratitude writing, I'm sure a lot of us have heard about gratitude writing. It has probably one of the most profound effects on the brain as any type of writing, because it actually triggers the parts of the brain that are responsible for happiness, the parts of the brain that put out those endorphins and everything else. So it'd be really great if every day you could just write down a couple of things that you're thankful for, whether it's writing in paragraph form and just writing page after page, or if you just list a couple of things. That's really great for like writer's block if you don't know what to write about, whether it's writer's block for journaling, or if you have like a work project or something and you're like, I can't write, that it'll stimulate a part of the brain that is blocked, so, because usually when things are blocked, like when we experience writer's block, it's because we have an emotional blockage, like, and our brain is concentrated on that. So if we like just change gears a little and really just start putting that gratitude out there, it puts our brain in like a more positive response. We start thinking about good things, and it just shifts a whole lot of stuff. I struggled with severe depression, and gratitude writing is what pulled me out. And right after I was actually practicing the gratitude writing, I found Ananda, and I absolutely know it was because my consciousness shifted to a place where the person who brought me to Ananda was able to kind of pick up on that consciousness, that like tune into me and my truest desires. So it's a really, really profound tool. Like I kind of felt like on par with the sex trafficking survivors I was describing to you, like just emotionless, like achy, like I couldn't leave the house, it was bad. And then it just like everything shifted from just writing down a couple things a day that I was thankful for. Like I had so much energy, so much gratitude, love, joy. And that was a few years ago, and I haven't really felt like that since. So.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you guys. This is my favorite thing in the world to do. So it's a treat for me.